who are like the rock stars, the people who show up and you're like, I don't have to worry about this young adult at all. They're cruising.
Okay.
What are the attributes that make a college freshman rock star?
Well, for my chemistry classes, I would definitely put strong math skills right up there at the top of the list. And I know that's not going to be universally applicable.
So how strong is strong? Are you talking about a kid who's doing 5-page calculus in their head, or
no.
what makes strong?
I am rock solid on the stuff I know. And there will be prerequisites that kind of enforce that before you take my chemistry class, you've had the college algebra.
Okay.
But that you know that stuff. Not that, well, yeah, I took that class 2 years ago and I got a B, but I just learned it well enough to pass the test and it's gone from my head now.
So we need you fluent in that branch of mathematical language.
You need to retain the stuff you learned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that you're willing to take some risks, that there's a lot of problem solving, and if you see a problem, you're like, well, I've never seen a problem like this, I don't know where to go, that's a problem, and we see that a lot. So those students that are just willing to say, well, I know how to do this piece, and I don't know if this is going to work, but let me try it. That's great. That's what you do in the lab. That's what you do on problem solving. We need that willingness to be wrong sometimes, that you're willing to have that, let me try it and see, attitude.
So to engage in the process rather than being very ends focused and risk averse.
Yeah.
To be more willing to sort of immerse yourself, hey, this is a process and I'll get there.
Right. And be cognizant of that process. Think about, well, why did I do this step, and is that a pattern I can generalize and use again in the future if you are doing that metacognition about your processes.
Okay. So the part of that real successful transition from the high school environment to the college environment is maybe one of shifting or recalibrating from absorbing information and spitting it back out again, and where the idea is simply to not make mistakes. It's sort of that's how our K through 12 is almost built. Is there are right answers. You simply need to stuff enough of them into your head to be able to regurgitate them to us, and that as one moves into that college environment, it's no, we're going to spend some time in this uncertainty, and you don't drown if you don't panic.
Yes, that's often the case.
But when you panic, you drown, or you're more likely to, and the lifesavers don't come as quickly.
See it break down a lot if they come in with, fine, I have to pass this class, but it doesn't connect to really what I want to learn. It doesn't connect to my major. Just let me get through it.
This is a bother.
Yes, and then you are trying to learn just what you have to for the exam, and if you miscalibrate, if you're off, then your exam gets off. And then connected to that, I think students will say, this homework is worth just a few points, or it's not worth any points at all.
I'm not going to bother.
Not going to bother. Really wrong approach. It's those learning exercises that you do yourself that lead to the mastery of the material that you can then earn the points with on the test. Problem-solving skills, being able to see what information you've got available to start with and where you need to be and chart a pathway from beginning to end, that's a life skill that you can translate to whatever field you go into. You could go into banking and never see a periodic table again in your life, and those skills are still going to be relevant. Professors give you homework assignments. They're not going to be worth very many points. You aren't going to earn an A in college from just making sure you get all your assignments in on time and working hard. Your grades aren't earned really on effort anymore. But those are critically important. If your teacher says, I really suggest you do problem 3, 4, and 5, that's a test in the term.
Of a kind, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you can check your answer and rework, or sometimes there's a delay in that process before you know whether you got it right or not. But yes, getting in and actually trying to do it, Absolutely. That's where you learn. An example from this semester, I have a student that is pregnant, and she's going to have her baby any day now, and she's been talking to me, it's now early April, she's been talking to me about this from last semester. We started this conversation last semester. And so we've got plans in place that, okay, when the baby comes, we will deal with it. We'll put lab on hold. We'll put the tests on hold. You can take this test late, etc., etc. We've got plans in place, and happy to work with her on that. Counterexample, a student's wife had a baby, and there were complications, and I don't know about any of this until 3 weeks after the baby is born, and he's emailing me and saying, I need to do these labs that were due 3 weeks ago. My feeling and my willingness and ability to work with him is really compromised. I'm sorry, you got to talk to me about these things early.
And not because you're not compassionate, not because that's not an unfortunate situation, but sure, so before is always better than after.
When you're in high school, if you're ready for the challenge and you're given the opportunity at your school to take the dual credit classes, by all means, take that challenge and learn more. But be judicious as to whether you pay for the credits, as to whether you decide to get the college credit.
Because
I have a lot of students come in and they've gathered 20, 30 credits, and not a lot of them prove to be useful toward their degree.
Oh, I see.
They'll have biology 127, which is the one semester anatomy and physiology. They don't need it. They need 227, 228. The way they usually work the dual credit at the high school is you can take the class, and there'll be students taking the same class. Only some of them are getting the college credit. Some of them are just there as high school students. You learn the material either way. If you know what degree you're planning to pursue.
So you're paying for credits you don't necessarily need.
Yeah, check whether you need it. And then the other problem
that more isn't necessarily better.
Right. And if you come in with 30 credits that you didn't need, then toward the end of your associates at CSI, you'll start to run into financial aid problems. They'll start to say, wait a minute, why should the government pay for you to just mosey around and take all kinds of extra credits?
I gotcha.
And you won't be able to take the art class that you don't need but that you're really interested in, or the PE class that would really be a stress reliever and help you stay healthy.
So I gotcha.